If you're one of 5 retirees, you sit quietly among the 1% of Americans about to retire. Most people who watch the movie don't know how far they are. Let me hit you with a slightly stinging number. Only 3.2% of retirees in the United States have retirement accounts that exceed $1 million. That means the additional 97% is still small. Intermediate retirees, about $8, negative 7,000. Not a million, not 500,000. 87,000, that is it. That is where the story gets weird. Because when you take apart the Fed's own data, the top 1% of retirees we were talking about are not the kind of people you expect. Not everyone is a hedge fund. And not everyone is a tech founder. Many of them are ordinary Americans, quietly doing 5 very specific things that few people want to do. I'll walk you around. The 4th was barely discussed. The 5th is the honest cheating code. Fast break. Let's play the same deck. When the financial media threw out the word top 1% retirees, they usually mean one of 3 different numbers, depending on who happens to be writing the article that day. Measuring retirement accounts only means your 401k, personal retirement account, and any pension with cash value. The lower limit of up to 1% is about $2.2 million, directly from the Federal Reserve's Consumer Finance Survey in 2022. This is the most comprehensive wealth dataset in the country. The definition was extended to all investable financial assets, and the threshold climbed to about 5.6 million, measuring the full household net worth of Americans of retirement age, including housing, corporate equity, every last asset. Money-wise, its analysis of the same Fed data set a threshold of up to 1%, reaching a staggering $27 million. When I said top 1% today, I used a retirement account, 22.9 million, because that is the number most people really have an impact on their lives. The person who hit it almost always has these 5 characteristics. So let's get started. Number 1 is pension holders, a number that is declining year by year. If you're a retiree, go to your email every month and come up with a real, honest pension fixed income check. Congratulations, because you have entered a shrinking elite. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks this every year. As of March 2025, only 14% of private sector workers are entitled to defined benefit plans. Public sector workers, teachers, firefighters, police officers, and government employees in a better position, because about 92% of state and local civil servants hold pensions. But pensions have become a dying species in the broader American workforce. That is why it is important for the top 1% of conversations. The Fed's own SHED report, Household Economics and Decision-Making Surveys. The study found that 56% of retirees with pension income said they were living well or comfortably. This group is far from retirees who rely solely on Social Security and personal savings. Pensions, like bonds, can be paid to you forever, taking risks from your former employer rather than yourself. That makes it the closest thing to financial bulletproof after retirement. If you have one, protect it like gold. If your spouse has survivors, learn survivor benefit rules. If you don't, it is okay, because we're relearning how the top 1% can replicate this without holding a pension. The second category is strategic Social Security procrastinators. In fact, few have taken action, even though most Americans know it exists. The Social Security Bureau gives you 8% more a year. Every year, you delay your application beyond retirement age until you are 70. People born in 1960 under the age of 70 receive 1,124% of benefits, permanent, inflation adjusted, for the rest of their lives. In 2026, at age 70, the maximum monthly Social Security check was $5,181, more than $62,000 a year. Under the guarantee and government support, The adjustment of the cost of living directly enters the formula. How many Americans do that? According to the Schroeder investigation, reported by CBS News, only about 10% plan to wait until age 70. That means 90% put their money on the table every month for the rest of their lives. Procrastination is not the right move for everyone. If you have serious health problems, or if you really need 62-year-old cash flow, math has changed a lot. An analysis released by the Financial Planning Association in February 2024 illustrates this. But statistically, among high-income people, the proportion of retirees postponed to 70 is too high, because they basically bought the biggest and cheapest annuity money could buy. They buy directly from the Treasury. The third category is unsecured homeowners. This time, power is deceptive. A retiree with his own home, no mortgage, no HELOC, no ownership, in an unexpectedly unusual position. According to the Census Bureau's American Community Survey, between 2020 and 2024, only 39.4% of all homeowners in the United States were free and accessible. The Boston College Center for Retirement Research has found that about half of the baby boomers who retire early are still paying off their mortgages until they are in their 60s and 70s. That means that half of those who seem to own their own homes at the time of retirement do not, because banks are still doing it. Open the picture and see what it means to pay back money after someone stops working. Removing the largest line item from most household budgets is the financial equivalent of a $24,000 annual raise, fully tax-free. That is why retirees without mortgages end up with more breathing room. They keep their portfolios undisturbed. They were not forced to sell shares during the downturn just to pay the September payment. That means they survived the market crash, while other retirees are ashamed. If you listen to this, in your 50s, people are hesitant about whether to repay mortgages aggressively or invest more aggressively. It is a legitimate debate, with rational people on both sides. But statistically, the top 1% of retirees always land in a particular aspect of retirement. The fourth is what I told you, and almost no one told you. This is the retiree who really has no debt. No debt at all. That is, the credit card balance is zero. The automobile loan is zero. The medical debt is zero. And the personal loan is zero. That sounds normal to retirees. But absolutely not. Because it was almost extinct as a financial archive. Usui. The United States Today quoted LendingTree as February 2025 analysis. The report shows that 97.1% of adults aged 66 to 71 in the United States still hold unsecured debt. And PlanAdvisor, drawing on industry research, the study found that while 53% of Americans expected to retire without having to pay back their debts, only 23% did, landing among 23% of debt-free retirees. Before we started talking about the size of your portfolio, you were already in elite statistics. More important than headline numbers is behavior, because retirement debt is a silent killer. Far beyond the monthly payment itself, retirees with debt are more likely to panic selling during a market correction. It is more likely to collect Social Security in advance, just to pay the bill, and they are more likely to skip healthcare to update their credit cards. Retirees without actual debt attack their portfolios. Everyone else is on the defensive, whether they realize it or not. It is not cheap. It is an option. Optionality is what the rich buy without realizing they are buying. Finally, enter the number 5, the cheating code. Retirees with multiple independent sources of income, not just Social Security, not just 401k, but if someone's monthly cash flow comes from 3, 4, or even 5 different barrels, including Social Security, pension, or annuity, dividend income from taxable brokerage accounts, rental income that may come from paid property. Maybe they really like a small consulting job. This is why even if your account balance does not fully reach the top 1% balance, you will enter the top 1% result. Macromonitor data show that the annuity holding rate in the United States climbed from 12% in 2016 to 16% in 2024. A BlackRock study found that 97% of annuity holders said their guaranteed income helped them reduce concerns about running out of money. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development EBRI 2024 Retirement Expenditure Survey found that 6 to 8% of retirees said their retirement lifestyle met or exceeded expectations. The biggest predictor of this outcome is income diversification. When multiple income streams flow, a market crash won't end your retirement. Cutting pensions won't end your retirement. Unexpected medical bills won't end your retirement either, because you build a system, not hope. That is what the rich do. And the middle class almost never does. With the accumulation of the middle class, pray that the 4% rule holds. Although the top 1% integrates a range of revenue engines, each is small enough to fail without sinking the entire ship. Let me repeat, because I want this to continue. The 5 categories of retirees quietly in the top 1% are pension holders, strategic social security procrastinators, unsecured homeowners, truly debt-free retirees, retirees with diverse sources of income. Notice what is missing from that list, because none of this requires you to make 7 figures in your career. They don't need you to time the market. And they don't need lottery-style windfalls. They need to make a decision, making boring, unstable, repeatable decisions for 2 or 3 decades. That is the whole game. Here is what the financial media won't tell you directly. According to the Federal Reserve, the median retirement account is $80,700, although the top 1% is between $2.2 million and $27 million. Depending on how you measure the threshold, the gap between the two groups is not talent or luck. The gap is the 5 things we just talked about. Even with 3/5 of the people on the list, you outperform the vast majority of Americans about to retire. Although there are 4 or 5 places in your area, most people have never seen them in their lives. Count your suitcases. Be honest about where you stand. If you have time, do what you can to solve the problem. If it works, click subscribe, because I send it every week. The next to break the biggest mistake of retirees in their first 5 years in office. Add in the top 1% and avoid making mistakes without thinking. I'll see you in that group.